This woman, Cheng Lei, is an Australian national who works for the Chinese Communist Party's foreign propaganda mouthpiece, CGTN, or China Global Television Network. She was a news anchor and enjoyed a certain level of public fame. She appeared in court in Beijing on March 31, 2022. More than a year and a half ago, she was suddenly arrested by the CCP. The public has been puzzled as to why the Chinese police would arrest a journalist who works for the party system. Cheng Lei is an Australian citizen, and the Australian government has been monitoring the case. On March 26, the Australian Foreign Minister issued a statement expressing her government's deep concern about Cheng Lei's conditions of detention and her health, among other things. Australian officials last saw her on March 21st. They had previously expressed concern about her health and conditions of detention as well, and said there was a lack of transparency in the case. Cheng Lei's trial was held behind closed doors. A small team of uniformed police mixed with plainclothes security personnel was deployed outside the Beijing court. Police cordoned off the area near the northern entrance to the courthouse, checked the journalists' ID cards, and turned them away. The Australian ambassador to China was denied access to the case. A court official told him, "The defendant is suspected of illegally providing state secrets to a foreign country. It's a case involving state secrets that won't be dealt with publicly, so it won't be open to visitors."
Well, as you've seen, we've just been denied entry into the trial. This is deeply concerning, unsatisfactory and regrettable. We can have no confidence in the validity of a process which is conducted in secret. Nevertheless, we will continue to advocate strongly for Ms. Cheng Lei's rights and interests in accordance with the consular agreement between our two countries.
A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman conveyed a similar message as that of the Beijing judge on the afternoon of March 31st. He said the case is currently under trial and the court will deliver its verdict at a later date, and according to Chinese law, cases concerning state secrets are not heard in public and no one is allowed to sit in on them. We urge the Australian side to earnestly respect China's judicial sovereignty and to not interfere in any form in the handling of cases by the Chinese judicial organs in accordance with the law. He didn't provide any details or information about the alleged crimes by Ms. Cheng. For those familiar with the internal struggles within the CCP, the current charges against Ms. Cheng has raised suspicions about the kind of vortex she might be involved in. According to publicly available information, Ms. Cheng Lei was born in 1975 in China's southern Hunan province and settled in Australia with her parents at the age of 10. She studied business at the University of Queensland in 1992, then returned to China to seek work and development opportunities. In 2002, she was hired by China National Television as an anchor on its English-language international channel. At the time, it was called CCTV Channel 9, and in 2016, based on Channel 9, the CCP set up the CGTN, which has grown to be one of the most important organizations for the CCP's foreign propaganda. Cheng Lei joined CGTN in 2012 as an anchor. During her time there, she interviewed hundreds of world politicians, economists, and business leaders around the world. She later became a single mother with a 10-year-old son and 12-year-old daughter who were sent to her mother's house in Melbourne to be cared for in early 2020 when school was suspended following the outbreak in Beijing. In August 2020, Cheng Lei was suddenly detained in China. On August 14th, the Australian government received an official notice from China concerning her arrest. On the CGTN website, her profile page was removed and her arrest was formally announced in February 2021. Cheng Lei was long active in the Australian community in Beijing and hosted events for business associations and the Australian Embassy, making her well known in Beijing's Australian community. A former Australian ambassador to China told Reuters that he had been friends with Ms. Cheng for years and was interviewed by her many times. He believed that financial news reporting wasn't generally considered as politically sensitive in China and was surprised to see her detained. She holds a degree of suspicion of the Chinese media, but she defends China just as strongly, arguing that foreign reports don't follow the facts or misrepresent China. Cheng's arrest sparked various speculations. Some people in Australia, for one, believe that her arrest marked a new phase in the deterioration of Sino-Australian relations. Beijing sees Australia as a pawn of the US and the Asia-Pacific region. Relations between the two sides were particularly strained after Canberra authorities called for an international investigation into the origin of the coronavirus. After Cheng Lei's arrest, a Beijing-based correspondent for the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, ABC, and a Shanghai-based correspondent for the Australian Financial Review, AFR, left China in a hurry, accompanied by their own diplomats, fearing they might be arrested. French media, AFP, said the situation was eerie. In hindsight, Ms. Cheng's case probably had little to do with the Sino-Australian conflict, except that no one could have guessed what was going on at the time. As time moves into 2022, some clues are becoming clear in the Chinese political arena. On March 31st, the same day as Cheng Lei's trial in Beijing, China's former Justice Minister Fu Zhenghua was expelled from the party and public office and handed over to the court system. Fu was convicted of 10 charges, including extreme expansion of political ambition and extremely despicable political conduct, doing whatever it takes to achieve personal political agendas, endangering the centralization and unity of the party, and so on. The public has noticed that the most significant one is this: joining Sun Lijun's political gang. So, who is Sun Lijun? He was the former vice minister of China's Ministry of Public Security. In March 2015, when Fu became Vice Minister of Public Security, one of Sun's roles was as Director of the Ministry of Public Security's 610 office, and from 2015 to 2018, when Fu served as Director of the Central 610 office, Sun was Deputy Director of the Central 610 office. In March 2018, when Fu moved to become China's Minister of Justice, Sun was appointed Vice Minister of Public Security. The 610 office is an oddly named agency. It's the equivalent of the Gestapo organization of the CCP. It was established on June 10, 1999, when former party leader Jiang Zemin launched a campaign to persecute Falun Gong practitioners in China. In 1999, there were approximately 100 million Falun Gong practitioners in China who practiced what was then known as Qigong, based on the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. 610 offices were located throughout China's provincial and municipal governments, controlling public security, prosecutors, courts, judicial, military, armed police, diplomatic, educational, and propaganda institutions at all levels. From the central to the local level, it has formed a tight, independent system that has absolute power over the political and legal authorities. Therefore, the 610 office director who was in charge of the 610 office was an official trusted by Jiang Zemin's group. Jiang and his sidekick, then Vice President Zheng Qinghong, ruled China by corruption and created a vast and secretive network in the Chinese bureaucracy. Thus, Jiang was able to hollow out Hu Jintao's authority during his time as party leader. After Xi Jinping came to power in 2012, he spent a decade purging the influence of the Jiang and Zheng group, a purge that is still far from over today. In 2021, Sun Lijun, then a deputy minister of the Ministry of Public Security, was expelled from the Communist Party in public office, and a case was opened for investigation. The official notice against him was rare in its wording, accusing him of spreading political rumors, engaging in unscrupulous tactics to achieve his political goals, forming interest groups, forming cartels to take control of key departments, and possessing and releasing a large amount of classified materials. These charges boil down to what the Chinese people understand to be a plot against the incumbent Xi Jinping's central government. That is to say, from 2019 to now, Xi Jinping's central government has taken down 2 senior officials in the Ministry of Public Security and the Ministry of Justice that the Jiang Group has planted. So, what does Cheng Lei have to do with all these people? Cheng's life trajectory crossed over with that of Sun. Cheng returned to China, first settled in Shanghai, flourished, and then went to Beijing to join CCTV. Sun first worked in Shanghai and then went to the Ministry of Public Security in Beijing. Sun studied in Australia and graduated from the State University of New South Wales with a degree in Public Health and Urban Management. While in Shanghai, both of their career paths overlapped. The political status of news anchors in the national TV station is very particular, especially for female anchors. It's generally impossible for one to be a news anchor without strong backing or referrals, even if they are competent and capable. Cheng Lei grew up in Australia and has little to no connections in China. So, did she have Sun on her side? Was Sun her power backer? In terms of timing, Sun was arrested in 2019 and Cheng was arrested in 2020. Cheng's arrest followed that of Sun. The CCP has a pattern of handling such cases. After arresting someone, it determines who else is connected, and then goes on to arrest those involved. If Cheng had been involved with Sun, she would have been targeted. One of the charges against Sun is that he privately hid and kept a large amount of classified materials. Guo Wengui, a wealthy Chinese businessman in exile in the US, once revealed in a video that Sun's wife is an Australian national with a bank account of up to $10 billion and that Sun had hidden a large number of top-secret documents and case files in Australia. After Sun's fall, rumors spread that he revealed to the Australian government the secrets of Xi Jinping's visit to Wuhan in 2020 and leaked information about the Wuhan P4 Virus Research Institute. It has led some analysts to believe that perhaps the Australian government has obtained solid evidence and is therefore particularly tough on China regarding the origin of the virus. As a continuation of Sun's case, China's former Minister of Justice, Zhenghua, was expelled from his party and public office and turned over to the judiciary system on March 31st. So, is the case of Cheng, which went to trial on March 31st, also an offshoot of Sun's case? These are all hypotheticals, and we leave the audience to judge whether they make sense. It is unlikely that a definitive yes or no answer can be obtained from the CCP's official announcement.
We have no information about the charges or allegations against Ms. Cheng, and no, we just don't have any information on that. And that is part of the reason why we're so concerned, because we have no basis on which to understand why she's being detained.
Australian officials said that when members of the Australian consulate visited Ms. Cheng in April 2021, she was led into the room by 4 guards, blindfolded, masked, and handcuffed. The guards removed the blindfold and mask only after Cheng Lei sat down and had a wooden restraint device strapped to her knees. In a statement to Reuters in August 2021, Cheng's family said that her 2 children and elderly parents missed her and hoped to be reunited with her as soon as possible.